Welcome. Today, we are diving into a really powerful tool that's all about bringing some serious clarity to a world that's, let's be honest, just full of overwhelming options.
I mean, you know the feeling, right? You're staring down a huge decision, you've got all these different paths, a mountain of pros and cons, everyone's giving you conflicting advice, and you just freeze. Total analysis paralysis.
But what if you could just cut through all of that noise? Imagine silencing all that chaos and having one single, clear, mathematically proven solution just pop up. And no, this isn't about guesswork or, flipping a coin and hoping for the best. It's about a system, a really logical process that can take all that confusion and turn it into real conviction. We're talking about giving yourself what feels like an unfair advantage. It's about taking a messy, subjective problem and turning it into a simple, objective comparison. Okay, so this might sound a little harsh, but a lot of the time, our gut is actually lying to us. I mean, think about it. Our intuition, it often fails us because it's so easily swayed by things like cognitive bias, where we just look for information that confirms what we already think. Our feelings get clouded by emotion, not by what's actually the most important thing. So what is this magic tool? Well, it's called a decision matrix. You might also hear people call it a Pugh matrix or even a grid analysis, but honestly, the name doesn't matter as much as the core idea. And that is, it forces you to logically compare your options based on what really matters to you. It takes all the guesswork out of the equation.
And here's the really crucial part. This isn't just about getting to the answer. It's about making the whole process totally transparent. It makes you spell out your priorities, it cuts down on that emotional bias we talked about, and it leaves you with this clear, documented reason for your choice that, hey, everyone can actually get behind.
All right, enough talk. How do we actually build one of these things? You'll be surprised at how straightforward it is, and you can literally apply this to almost any decision you're facing, whether it's huge or something small. Okay, so the whole thing breaks down into 6 pretty logical steps. But honestly, the real magic happens right up front, in the first 3. That's where you define your criteria and assign weights. This is where you turn your big priorities into actual numbers. The last 3 steps, that's really just the mechanics, doing the math that shows you the result of all that smart thinking you did at the beginning. I know, that might sound a little abstract. So let's bring it down to earth and make it super concrete with a simple example that pretty much all of us deal with. Look at this, the classic what's for lunch problem. Here you can see taste is the most important thing, right? So it gets a weight of 5. Cost is next at 3, and nutrition is a 2. So you just score each option against those criteria, multiply by the weights, and bam, the hamburger comes out on top with 38 points. See, it's not a guess, it's just math. And what's so cool is that this simple logic for choosing lunch, it scales up perfectly for those really big, high-stakes business decisions, like, say, choosing a critical piece of software for your entire company. So check this out. This is a perfect example of how the matrix handles more complex stuff. We're comparing 3 big CRM systems, and you can see that cost is the most important factor here, with a weight of 5. So after you score everything and run the numbers, look at that. Salesforce is a little behind, and HubSpot and Zoho are tied. Now, the matrix didn't give us the final answer, but it did something incredibly valuable. It told us exactly where to focus our attention for that final deep dive. Okay, but what if you don't have all this detailed data for scoring, right? What if you're in the really early stages of something and you just need a quick way to narrow down a whole bunch of new ideas? Well, for that exact scenario, there's a variation called the Pugh matrix. And it is perfect for when you just want to compare new ideas against, say, a baseline or whatever you're currently doing, and you don't need all those precise scores. So yeah, the key difference is really simple. A regular decision matrix gives you that exact final weighted score. A Pugh matrix, though, it just tells you if a new idea is better, worse, or about the same as your baseline for each thing you care about. It's way faster and perfect for that early stage brainstorming. Now look, this is a powerful tool, but like any powerful tool, you can mess it up if you're not careful. To really get the most out of it, you've got to be aware of a few common mistakes that can totally throw off your results. Honestly, the biggest mistakes happen right at the start. People choose really vague criteria, or they assign weights based on their own personal biases. So here's a pro tip. Set the weights with your team. Do it collaboratively. That one simple step helps get rid of any one person's bias and make sure your criteria actually reflect what the whole team thinks is important. So let's break it down into a simple guide. Be super clear on your goals, get the right people involved, and please remember, the matrix is a guide, it's not a dictator. The numbers are there to give you a framework, but you always have to combine them with your team's insights and, what's actually happening in the real world. And that, right there, is the real power of this tool. At the end of the day, it's not making the decision for you. What it's doing is transforming a messy, emotional, really subjective problem into a clear, structured, and objective comparison. It lets logic take the lead right when our biases are trying to take over.
So, there you have it. That's the blueprint for turning chaos into real conviction. And it works for everything, from choosing lunch, to deciding who to hire, to picking a multi-million-dollar strategy. So the only real question left is, what impossible choice are you going to make easy first?